How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm chilling, man. I'm doing great. Thanks for calling in. Just to let you know, we're already recording. Um, all right,
Okay.
man. So what's up? What's new with you?
I'm looking at your 3D printer in the background there.
It's been going since I got it. It didn't even know it was gonna be an industrial machine when it came out of the box because it has been going on 24 hours since I got it. But we're not gonna talk
Really?
about me today. Unless you have any questions, but man, I am so hooked on it. That's like my new thing. Um, I always analogize everything, right? So to me, it gives me
Yeah.
like these nostalgia feels of like it's a digital coloring book. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
just seeing it
Yes.
go pass by pass, it's just like the nostalgic feeling of just a coloring book, but just having it have something like be created at the end of it. So it's just giving me like all the dopamine that you could imagine from like the creative side to just watching it go. Like it could just give me like relaxing vibes. Just sit there watching, and the next thing you
Yeah.
know, I've wasted like 5 minutes just watching this little thing print, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta get stuff done. So I've just been completely enamored by this machine.
It's the best. That's awesome.
Dude, we can have a whole nother conversation about that because I would love to pick your brain because there's so many things that I know for a fact I haven't had to endure as far as like hardships and pains with 3D printing because this
Well, yeah, because
thing.
all mine are for like old. They're years old, and 3D printers are like so much better now. So,
Mhm.
uh,
Right now it
good.
feels.
Don't endure the hardships.
Oh, dude, it feels like this is another thing that it reminds me of the jailbreak community. Like when I used to have my
Mm,
iPhone jailbroken, and that we would just like share within the community files, like, oh, look what I got it to do, and it can do this. That's how I feel. And right now that I think it's Maker Station or something. It's the application. Let me open
yeah.
this so I'll mess up the name. Maker World. Maker World is like my new Google right now. So anything that I can imagine, I just go there and just literally just search to see what's available, and then the next thing you know, I have such a long list of things to print now. It's not even
Yeah.
funny, but that's enough about that. I got that out of the way. Talk to me,
Okay.
bro. How are you? What in your world basically has you enamored like that right now?
Oh, actually, that's a great question. It's right here. This is what I'm currently working on a video about. This is a Sony camcorder from
Mhm.
2013.
Nice.
And let's see, I turn it on. It's going to make a little sound when I turn it on. It's really funny. If I start and stop recording, uh, it makes the exact same sounds that like
The
the
new
cameras still
alpha
make.
cameras.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Let me push this button. Wait, what am I doing? Oh, I'm recording still. There we go. I'm
Yeah.
going to hold down this button. And why is it still recording? See, I know how to use things, I swear. I'm just so excited. My enthusiasm is
Hmm.
allowing me to project. It's a camera that has a projector in the LCD. There's no way I can show it probably on here.
And it's
Probably won't be able to see it,
projecting
but
the image that you're seeing
it's
outward.
projecting your playback. Not your live
Yeah, yeah,
not your
yeah.
live recording, but yeah, your playback. It has a little built-in projector. It
That's
was a
cool.
$400 camcorder when it was new. It's HD, it's full HD, in 2013.
Yeah, as good as
um,
you can get
but
then.
I bought this on eBay like a year ago, and I have been wanting to make a video about it. But there's stuff that feels more timely, like Roadcaster video, and things that are like relevant. And so this has just been sitting there. But I bought it on eBay for like $100, and it showed up, and it was brand new, like unopened in the box from 2013. And I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be the most fun video. So I finally got around to. I'm like just finishing up editing that. So that is what I am enamored with. It's like so much fun to use.
Right? It's like a time capsule when you're able to get something
Yeah.
like that that has been untouched. You're like, oh my god, and it brings you right back to that time. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, the box that it came in even has a little thing that's like official sponsor of FIFA World Cup 2014 Brazil. And I'm like, wow, okay.
That's so cool.
Cool.
Oh man, I actually ordered something recently. It's called the mini DVR, mini digital
Oh,
video
okay.
recorder. They're very small. They're designed for the drones.
If I ordered the exact same thing.
Okay, for the FPV, but I'm gonna use it
Yeah.
for a camera that I really can't
Yep.
fix because it's an old Sony camera. I got it up here, right? It's one of these three CCDs, like
Yeah.
the
Oh
handy
yeah. No,
cam,
I
so
wanted
to
to do it
speak.
with my Canon XL1 and
Oh,
all that, so you can record to a memory card instead of a tape.
exactly. So I'm just gonna basically Velcro that little mini DVR to the side of
Hmm.
it and see what I can do to get that like nostalgic film.
Same. I'm trying to look because like literally mine, and it's like a $30 thing. It's not a crazy expensive
No,
thing, but mine is like sitting right over there, and it's like
I
I
just
want to do a video on that as well.
I just ordered mine, so it should be here in a couple of weeks. So, like, I ordered it this month. I was like, that was
It's
almost like a
like
no brainer.
so small.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm kind of nervous because I'm like, wait, do I actually know how to do this? But I feel like it's got to be simple.
Of course. No, exactly. It's just an in and out. The only thing I have to see is like maybe research on the actual adapter to get the audio and video out or into it, so to speak. Oh,
Yeah,
but
my question that I have is like, how do I watch playback? Like, how do I review a clip? I don't know if you can. I don't know.
I think there was a way, but you might need to connect an external monitor to it, which is what you might not have access to. But
Yeah,
we'll talk about it because if you're getting the same exact thing or you have it, you understand we're gonna bounce ideas off each other. So,
yeah. Thank
mhm.
God. Thank God I'm not the only one.
But it's so funny that we're like seeing the same things around the same time. We're like, oh, that's for the FPV, and we had the same similar mindset
Hmm.
because I feel like that's like the creator mindset. When you have it, you're constantly thinking of like everything as a Lego piece where you could just kind of like put it together and be like, oh, I could
Yes.
add that to this because I already have that at home. So I guess my first
Yeah.
question to you would be what sparked your curiosity like that or your creativity as a child?
That would be my old, well, not my, but my parents' old Sony camcorder, because that was the thing where it was like, it was like around, I don't know, 1989, 1990 was when I remember us, like, if there was a birthday or going on trips or whatever, they would be filming something. It actually belonged to my grandparents, and my parents would just borrow it because it was like, not everyone could just own a camcorder at that point in time. And I remember like the feeling of we could do something that day and then connect it to the TV at night and like rewatch the day and like relive the moment. And to me, that was magical. And I feel like to this day, I have a really weird, I don't know if you would call it a photographic memory, but it's really specific. Like, oh yeah, April 7th, 2012, this thing happened. Or like, yeah, we've had that, you got your computer in January of 2021. Like everything's just like time stamped and dated for some reason. And that might just be a genetic thing, but I also feel like it was because of like watching old home movies and kind of like reliving moments, which like burned them into my brain more and then made me remember things in a weird way. But that was it. Like I was hooked, not just because you could do that, but there was something about the camcorder itself. Like I just liked the way that it looked. I like the buttons on it. I like the switches, especially like the old camcorders that just they're covered in buttons and switches and stuff. And it was like I just want to push all these and switch all these and like and then it was my dad would do things like little stop motiony type stuff. Like he would have me stand somewhere, record, stop recording, have me walk away, record again, and then I would like disappear or reappear or whatever. And little things like that, just I loved it when we would play it back. It was so like magical just to watch it.
That's so funny that you mentioned that because I used that same trick by myself when I was in school for, audio visual television production that we actually got to take home a camera for the weekend and we got to sign it
Hmm.
out like if it was a book. And that was like the biggest thing for me to have 3 days with a camera. And I just set it up in my kitchen. You understand, like tripoded, and then I would just do that, start, stop, record, and just I bounced everywhere. And for I guess like the lack of technology, every time it just
Yeah.
kind of restarted recording, it would kind of redo the ISO, and it would kind of make it like this
Oh,
white flash in between. So it literally looked like I was popping up magically. You understand, in
that's
every new
cool.
location. And I was like, that's super interesting. And that was, directly in camera. That was as far as
Yeah.
effects that we can get. And still, I remember that those are what I was going to mention as well, is like kind of one of these anchor memories, which is what I think that you were just talking about. It's like a memory that
Yeah.
anchors you to kind of who you are, and it's a point where you can move forward and backwards in dates and times, because it really anchors you to like that moment in time.
Yeah. I've never heard that term, but I really like that. That makes so much sense.
It's one of your like breadcrumbs that you've left behind of Hansel and Gretel, so to speak. It's like one of those things that, like,
Yeah.
this really mattered to me. And then the other thing that I also noticed, which is why I love photography and videography, is that whenever I feel like that you capture a memory like that, every time that you look at the photo, you kind of re-solidify that memory, and you kind of just like
Right. Right.
re-engrave it. And then that also tends to become like another anchor memory, because you could always go back and almost feel the same way that you felt at that moment.
Yeah, because I think they do say like your memories are like copies of copies. So if something happens and you remember it, it's already inaccurate. But every time you remember it, now you're like accessing that copy, and so every time it gets a little less accurate. And I really know there are times where I'm like, no, for sure, like I was wearing a red sweater on that day at like that theme park or whatever, and then I see a photo, I'm like, it was blue.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, you're right, because if it's a photo, you see exactly how things were at that time, and it's like that does solidify it in a very different way than you just trying to pull it out of, I don't know, the cobwebs in your brain.
Another thing that I think that they do is, I think that there are shortcuts to your memory. So the same way that you might have a file deep down in your hard drive that you don't know where it's at, but you have that shortcut to get to it on your desktop, you can quickly access that file.
Yeah.
And I've seen pictures that have totally brought me back to complete memories, complete files that were in my mind that I hadn't even accessed for years. Like, my friend sent me a photo, and he's like, "Oh, look how young we were." And I go, "Oh my God, I remember the time, the date." I go, "What we were doing, whose party it was, like what the situation was like." And then even stories of events that happened in that night. You understand? All from a simple
Yeah.
picture that my friend sent me over the phone. And it's just like incredible how, like, I think that they can just be a shortcut to a memory that you didn't even know that was still in your archive.
Yeah, 100%. I knew that, but I never really thought of that. That is super cool.
That's how my mind works. I'm always trying to find the ways, like I mentioned, the coloring book with the 3D printer, like
Yeah.
it's always something that I was like, "Oh, this reminds me of this, of like this is how I used to feel like that." And like going back to the 3D printer, like the enthusiasm and the excitement that I have over this new device for me is like childlike. I'm just right back in the
Yeah.
mix.
Yeah. And what's cool about that, what I've noticed, at least from like the creator mindset, is anytime I've ever tried to do something that's like, okay, I'm going to get into a hobby or an interest that's not connected to making videos or YouTube or whatever, it always ends up
Creeping in.
being involved somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like 3D printing, just a fun thing for me. It was like, wow, like I can make videos about it. You can print stuff for camera gear. It all becomes helpful. Even like, I don't know, learning to play a sport like hockey was like, okay, this is not related at all. But I can do these mic'd up videos. Now I'm learning how to do that. Now I can do a tutorial on sports mic'd up videos and like learn how to better use my wireless mic systems and my GoPros. I was like, oh geez, it always finds its way back.
Oh man, I love it, dude. I find that with everything. That's why, like, even right now, like I have this new battery container that I 3D printed. It's like it always finds its
Nice.
way back to like the photography
Yep.
and the cameras. Like, so now I'm just thinking about how many different ways I could apply that, especially now that I'm getting into rigging out my cameras for video. So I'm really,
Mhm.
falling into that Caleb Pike type
Yeah.
of mentality.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so cool because it can all be so custom. It's like, it's the best.
Oh my God. Like, but that's what I have fun nerding out about as well. like when it comes to this stuff. So,
Yeah.
all right. So let me see. I guess my next question to you was kind of in the similar vein would be, as a child, what was your favorite piece of tech? Like, I know that the cameras were what got you started into it, but what was maybe your absolute
Yeah.
favorite, or maybe even your favorite toy as a child?
Oh, that is like, it is hard because like the camcorder was the thing I always wanted to like have my hands on if I
Mhm.
could. But I always liked this, like, oh, all this stuff is flooding back. See, these like core memories, these files you've accessed. Or I'm like, oh my God, like you get one search result and it floods with
Mhm.
like many more search results is what's happening right now.
Well, talk to me about
A
all of
thing that
them.
really pops up, a thing that pops up, which actually does make a lot of sense. It's funny because there are these connections. When I was maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7, the thing that I wanted, like asked for Christmas, was I wanted a remote control fire truck, like more than anything, that had like a ladder you could like extend. And it wasn't even like remote, like fancy RC. It was like the remote, it was like a big remote that was just on a cable connected to the fire truck. So you had to like walk around
Mhm.
with it. It wasn't like, but you could extend the ladder and like go it up and move it around. And what I really loved about it was like it had all these little like, it had like the tools on the side of the truck, and they were all like the gauges and the little whatevers. And I just loved how like tinkery it was. And I remember I got it for Christmas, and it was the best. Like it was one of those like classic childhood things of, I really want this specific toy for Christmas. I'm going to ask for it all year. I got it, and it was awesome. Like it's just no conflict, perfect, happy story. But it's funny because that thing of like, I think what I liked about that was kind of like that tinkeriness, which is also why like you brought up Legos a minute ago. Like Lego were huge things that I just absolutely loved, and like then making stop motion movies with Legos and stuff like that. But it's funny because just recently, something I had no interest in for the longest time was the DJI Mic 2,
Mhm.
like their wireless mic setup. Because I already had like the Rode ones. I've already like, I just didn't need another wireless mic thing. And um and then I talked to DJI, and we ended up doing a sponsored thing, and they sent me one to check out before we did a sponsored thing. And on paper, it's not all that different from the other systems. It's, it's two transmitters and a receiver, and it's cool. But there's something about like how tinkery it is, like just the boxes and the details and little knobs and little adapter goes here. And I'm like, this is like my, my favorite new thing. And I think it scratches that same itch
Mm.
as like the fire truck or the Legos did when I was a kid. And it's still anything that has, it's like why I really like, my FX3 has a lot of buttons, and it's like square, or it's rectangle. It's very like boxy and practical looking. Like I love that kind of thing still. It just never went away. I don't know what that is, but yeah, that when I'm thinking of like toys and tech, and then tech wise, we didn't get a computer until I was like, well, that's not true. My my parents were separated, so my dad got a computer earlier, and I do remember him saying, I must have been like 10 years old. This was probably like 1995. I remember him saying, this computer has a 1 gigabyte hard drive. You could never fill this up. Like it's impossible to fill this up. And I was like, wow.
That's so funny.
And so that was kind of cool, but it's insane, right? But he also had like a bunch of just like busted up old like IBM computers, and whatever that mechanical keyboard is that's like super popular now, like the old chunky
Like the
beige
IBM one.
mechanical keyboard. Yes. He had like, I don't know, 15 of them just in boxes, in various states of working. And I would set them all out and like try to connect them to these old CRT monitors. There's a lot of like broken and half working gear around. And I would just like, you could like type stuff that would show up on the screen. You couldn't run, there was no operating system. You couldn't run a computer program, but I would be like, pretend I was like in an FBI movie and be like, search database, accessing dot dot dot, delete 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 dot dot dot, so it would look like it was like accessing something on the screen. It's like, yeah, this is cool. Like, I don't know, hacking. And then the idea when Independence Day came out,
A movie?
and Jeff Goldblum,
Okay.
yeah, the movie, and Jeff Goldblum had his little
Mhm.
laptop that he liked to
Yeah,
save the
with the
world
little
with.
like
I
satellite
was
thing
like,
that he popped on the car, right?
Yeah, that was. I wanted nothing more in the world than a laptop. Like, are you serious? It's a computer. It folds up. It's just a computer. The whole thing is right there. Like, and this is like pre-internet, so I didn't even know like you go online, or I didn't know what his satellite thing
Mhm.
was. It's like how you talk to the aliens. But yeah, that all that stuff. I was always just like obsessed with gadgets and tech and anything audio video related and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I'm the same way. That falls into like my fidget spinner type of category, right? I don't
Hmm.
own a fidget spinner, never have, because I've always had cameras like my Fuji's that have like all the little
Yeah.
details and all the little knobs that you could just tinker with. And it's so
Yep.
satisfying that even though you have the electronics and the menu, that if you just want to change the ISO, I could just go click, click, and I'm there already. Don't have to touch. So
Yeah.
the fidgetness of like a Fuji camera or my new Nikon ZFC, like those classic style, like, cameras, bro, they totally like scratch that itch for me at least.
Yeah.
But that's
1,000%.
also why I love cameras so much, because they have all this stuff, right? Like all these buttons, and this
Hmm.
and it's like us, we just like to press stuff to see what it does. So I'm gonna
I want to push the
exactly.
buttons.
So I'm looking at these old cameras with all these buttons, with all these terms that we no longer use. And I'm like, what do they do? I can't wait to just press all the buttons to just figure out like what it does. And if I can figure it out, right? Because sometimes you press a button, you're like, that did nothing,
Hmm.
right? So then that has like
Yeah.
that kind of open loop where you're still just trying to figure out,
Hmm.
like how do you close that
Yep.
up? So do you have any open loops
I
right now?
love all of that. Ooh, I'm sure that I do. um, I mean, honestly, my biggest open loop would probably be the Roadcaster video that I have sitting on my desk right here, because that's where it's like it's such a small, simple device, but it can do so much, and I feel like I only know how to use like half of it. So like that thing is very much like I pushed a button. What did I do? What did that do? How do I fix it? So I'm always digging in and tinkering in there. And then the reason that I couldn't, when I first logged on and I couldn't hear you, was because I had been diving into virtual channels on my Roadcaster Duo, and I had everything mapped out in like this different thing for a stream Heather and I were doing the other day, and my audio output was still sent to that. But I was like, that was a huge thing of like, okay, I'm trying to send audio from this one application to this one physical fader, but it needs to go here. Now I'm using loopback to create a custom mix. And every button affects 10 other things, but I don't know which 10, like it was tricky. So that definitely like broke my brain in a fun way though.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I've been trying to make a video about my desk, right? My desk setup, but it's a
Yeah.
constant evolution. So it's like I'm constantly,
Yeah.
it's never been 100% where I say like, hey, this is where I have it. I'm very close to it right now, and that's also because of the accessories that I've been able to print out. You understand? I'm like, I can make this, I can fix that. So even something as simple as a little keyboard stand has been helping me out. But that's been like my thing
Mhm.
as well, which is trying to get more of the content out, just because I'm constantly either like, like it's constantly evolving what I'm doing. So it's hard to kind of just say, hey, this is what it is, set in stone, and then
Mhm.
tomorrow it's completely different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also that,
And as soon as you make a
no, go
video,
ahead.
oh, sorry, go ahead. I would say as soon as you make a video, a desk setup or a studio tour video, that guarantees you're going to change everything the next day. Like as soon as you're like, here's how everything is, for sure you're gonna. It's probably because it incepts something in your
Okay.
brain where you're thinking about your setup, and then something clicks, and you're like, I should do this, and then everything like 2 weeks later, it's like, oh, that video is totally out
And
of
that's
date.
funny you mention it, because it was you who actually did like a this is my desk setup video. And I was like, oh, so nice that I commented. And you're like, I can't wait to see yours. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And that's what started me with the whole thing.
Okay.
I need to change everything. Like, if I'm going to do it.
Well, I mean, I was gonna ask you now, like, hey, yeah, tell me, show me all the stuff you're using, because I know, you swap out not only main parts like computers from time to time, but also like all the little peripherals and accessories. And now everything's like constantly fine tuned and
Mhm.
evolving. And like all those little things solve so many problems. But that's the thing that people get stuck on. It's like, it's not that they can figure out, oh, I want a second camera, but what they can't figure out is like, well, how do I mount that? How do I position it? How do I bring that feed in? How do I light for the second camera? All those little details. And I feel like you dial that stuff in so
Well,
well.
thank you, man. The last time that I did that was actually with the build that I did for my FX30 for Creator Camp. Like I totally nerded out on that like cage and setup because there was no aspect of it that I like, no rock left unturned. Like even the knobs that I used to hold
Yeah.
the rods, like I changed the knobs to screws so that they're like flush mount, so that when I have it against my arm, it doesn't like poke me in the wrong way. So that then it'll just be like a pain in my arm, so to speak. uh, and so like even to that minute detail, I think that's what I kind of like love to do. That's where I nerd out, so to speak, like those little things. So thanks for letting me know that, because maybe that's what I need to emphasize on more, which is like those little hiccups, right?
Yeah, that's the big stuff. Like I put a page on my website because I kept getting asked like, I want to start a podcast with 2 of my friends, with 4 of my friends. I want to do a video podcast. What do I need? And it's like, that's such a huge question. I'm sure people ask you like, yeah, I want to do a video podcast. What kind of gear do I need? And you're just like, do you have 3 days to sit and have me tell you about everything? It's like, it's a lot. So I put a page on my website that's just like recommended setups. It's not the only way to do it, but it's like, here's what I would recommend to put together different types of audio video setups. But I tried to include everything you need. So it's not just like, get this camera and this mixer and the Roadcaster or whatever, but it's like, here's the memory cards, here's the cables, here's the adapter, here's the this. Like, so you could just get, hopefully, I'm sure there's still something that's probably left out, but all those little things, that's where people get stuck so much. And it's so frustrating when you're like, I ordered all my stuff, I'm ready to go, I'm setting it up. And then you realize like, a memory card or some critical thing that you can't use your whole setup without. And you're like, well, now I got to place another order and wait several days before I can do anything. Like that's always a frustrating feeling.
Yeah, and that's part of the same thing. Like I always find that hiccup, and then the next thing you know, I'm on Amazon ordering something, waiting for it to get here, and then doing that. So right now, the thing that's taking over Amazon is the 3D printer, because now instead of like waiting 3 days, I'm like, can I just make it? No, that's where I'm at right now. I'm telling you, it's totally got my mind engulfed.
Yeah. It's really that. I mean, like that's really satisfying. Heather told me a while ago. She was like, "Oh, check this out." And it was like an Instagram post or something where someone had like a gaming studio streaming setup, and they had these mounts on their wall where they could put all their different controllers like on the wall. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And she's like, "We should get something like that." And I was like, "Hang on, of course! Like you could just 3D print that." So it's like however long it took me to 3D print 4 or 5 of them. Later that day in our living room, all our controllers are like lined up on the wall, cool color holders and everything's there. I'm like, this is, instead of just collecting dust in a pile on a shelf or whatever. And it's like, that is super cool. I didn't have to go anywhere. I didn't have to spend any extra money. I just like, it's a thing now, and it's made things better. And like, yeah, that's one of the best parts of 3D printing.
Like you just said the same thing, and that's exactly like what I did. I just made a holder for my PlayStation 4 controller that I use with my PC. So now it sits there and it's got like the little like branding and logo of the PlayStation. You understand? And I'm like, that's a thing now that like exists in my house. And I think that that's like where we are with technology, right? Where we were always thinking like, the instant gratification, so to speak, where, like you can just actually just go into the microwave and go like, what was it? The Fifth Element, where she put like a pill in the microwave, hit 2 buttons, said bing, and when it opened up, it had like a turkey, like fully done. That's what I feel like a 3D printer does for me. You understand? It's just like, hey, I just put this thing on the computer, and when I turn around, there's a turkey that's just been done in the background. Are you still using the same old black boring mic cover? It's time for an upgrade. Introducing Doc Pops, the microphone covers that don't just improve your sound, they make a statement. Designed for podcasters, streamers, musicians, and content creators, Doc Pops reduces plosives, cuts down on background noises, and protects your microphone from dust and moisture, all while looking amazing on camera. With a variety of colors to match your style, your microphone will finally stand out as much as your content. Perfect for top mics like the Shure SM7B, MV7, Rode Pod mic, and many more. So make your mic pop with Doc Pops. Better sound, better look, bigger impact. Doc Pops, where sound meets style. Is that velvet?
Yeah, like if you took someone from like the 1950s or earlier or whatever, and you're like, okay, here we are, see this thing, there's nothing here, let's go do something for a couple hours, and you come back and now there's like an object there, and it's like, where did this come from? Like what alchemy, what magic, what witchcraft? And then they'd probably burn you at the stake or something, but you know, it's pretty cool.
Oh, which also brings me back to the beginning or the origins of your channel, because, you know, I mentioned the 3D printer, but it's kind of not to hijack the conversation, but actually to bring it back to that's actually how you started your channel.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was one of the big things for sure. Because it was, you know, it's like I don't know I don't know how anyone starts a channel with like a strategy, because I definitely didn't, and I can't even like imagine it. But yeah, when I started my channel in 2017, I just wanted to make videos. That was kind of the thing. But it's of course like, well, what do you make a video about? Like, and that was my problem that I had for so long was I want to make a video. I have all this gear. I'm going to buy a slider. I'm going to buy a camera. But like, what can I do with it that's my own and not just like some weird, like not weird, but like a corporate promo video or something like that. And so finally, the first video on my channel is like how to pass your drone Part 107 exam, your drone pilot's license, because it's to me that was something I was going through at the time. Felt there was like an info gap, and it was so concrete. It was like, yes, this video has a purpose, but I still get to set up lights and a camera and an audio recorder and do all the things. And then after that, I wanted to make other videos, and it was just kind of a little bit of everything. And I was so like at that point, that was like the peak of my 3D printing. I had like 4 or 5 printers going constantly, and it was quite a problem. And so I just started making videos about different printers and different things you could print and whatever. And those were the first videos that ever like did well on my channel, where it was like, oh, you know, nobody is subscribed to the channel, so every video is getting 3 views maybe, and the 2 of them are me. So those where it was like, oh, this video has like 8,000 views or something, or, you know, several hundreds of views. That's crazy. And it really kind of seemed, especially at that time, like maybe I should maybe this should be a 3D printing channel. Like that seems to be what people like. I really like it. It's kind of coming naturally. I sort of feel like if I had gone full bore into 3D printing and like this is what the channel is going to be, and I did that for 7 years, I feel like the channel would be 5 or 6 times the size that it is now. But after making like 7 or 8 3D printing videos, I was like, that's everything I know about 3D printing. So, okay, I guess I could make videos where I'm trying to learn Tinkercad, or I'm trying to, you know, review different printers. But it's like, I kind of don't want to just like get a bunch of printers and review them, or like that it just kind of ran out. And it was like, even though I loved it, and to this day I love 3D printing, it wasn't a thing that I could sustain a channel with. Whereas audio video production stuff, since I was a kid, that's the thing I can't get enough of. And I was like, yeah, if I it might not be the best way to grow the biggest channel, but if I want to keep having things that I'm excited to make videos about for as long as I can imagine, this is definitely the topic for that. And so that's why I like kind of made the conscious choice. And I had, even though I want to do 3D printing videos, I was kind of consciously like not doing as many of them, because I didn't want people to think like, you know, oh, 3D printing GoPro review, like something that just is not in their wheelhouse at all. So it was like, let's kind of fade that out so people don't get wrong impressions. And that was maybe the first time I even considered doing anything strategic on the channel.
Well, I recognize that, and for the viewers and the listeners who don't know or might not know, that your channel actually started as the Enthusiasm Project.
Oh yeah.
and that's actually what I'm, coming around to learning, which is if you can convey your enthusiasm for whatever it is that you're talking about, then that's going to make the biggest
Like
difference.
this
Because even
enthusiasm
though I'm basic,
projector.
exactly.
Sorry.
Like, honestly, when you pulled out that projector, I was like, that is so cool. You might have to send me a link to see if I can find one myself, because that is like so cool, especially like to see how far we've come with technology.
Mhm.
My dad the other day just asked me about like learning, or how I learned, or how someone could learn photography. And I was like, just buy a camera and start taking photos. Like, even the oldest camera right now is just infinite photos, so to speak, comparative to when we used to have to carry around a roll with only 32 exposures. And I remember as a child where those 32 would last me a year, because like they were so precious that I'll be like, I wasn't just snapping away at anything. I was really like saving up so that like when I would develop the film, it would also be like a time capsule. Like I forgot the things that I
Yeah.
photographed. And then when you see them, they reoccur and they just pop up to re-anchor those memories.
1000%. Yeah. There was a question. You said something really interesting, and then I interrupted you with a dumb joke. I'm sorry about that. We were talking about Enthusiasm Project, connecting with things. I guess it was just about
And we were saying that
enthusiasm in general.
like showing your enthusiasm for whatever it is that you're
Yes.
excited
Yeah,
for.
and that projecting your enthusiasm.
Did that spark it?
Well, because that was, I mean, that's the thing. I feel like when you watch somebody, you can tell if they actually want to be making the video they're making or not. And I feel like all of us have probably found channels where it's like, this person doesn't seem, it's almost like a band, right? So to not put creators on blast, but if you go see a band where you're like, okay, I know they've broken up 15 times and they've switched members and people have left and rejoined. And it seems like they don't like each other, but they're getting up there in age and they kind of need to go on a last tour to like, eke out some retirement savings there. And it feels like, I don't know that they want to be performing this show right now, but I want to see a band, but I don't know. It's almost that same thing of like, you can see someone who's, they feel like they have to review this piece of gear. They have to make this type of video, but their heart doesn't really seem to be in it, versus like, here's the band, like the punk band that's playing in a basement somewhere for $0 just because they can't wait to like make music on a Friday night. It, versus the creator who's just like, yeah, I know you can go on eBay and try to find this projector camera. I cannot give you an affiliate link. Sony is not sponsoring this video. Like there's, in terms of YouTube strategy, probably the worst topic I could be spending my time making a video on right now. But it's the thing that like I'm really excited about when you watch the video, especially like I unbox the camera and turn it on for the first time. And I honestly don't know if it's actually going to work. And so I turned it on. It almost doesn't seem like it is. And then it finally goes like, ring. And like, you can see the joy and the excitement of like, oh my God, it works. That means we can actually do stuff with it. And like, you can't force that or manufacture that. And, and it can be hard in the creator world where there's always a new product release. There's always something around the corner. There's always something you feel like that is what I should be talking about or what I should cover. Or if you get to a point where brands want to reach out, they're like, hey, we got a new thing coming out here. We'll send you this. We'll do that. And it's like, if you're not careful, that could dictate everything you do, where you're like, oh, my next 5 videos are things that I didn't even want to make videos about. And, it takes a lot of conscious effort to be vigilant against that, to protect the thing that your enthusiasm, instead of the enthusiasm project, it's the enthusiasm protect, because you got to protect the enthusiasm to keep things going. And nobody else can gauge that except for you as the creator.
But it definitely conveys whenever you're either talking about it or, making a video about it, because the term that we use is mailing it in.
Yeah.
You understand what you were just trying to say? Like, people just mail it in because like it's low effort. It's they're just system minimum requirements, so to speak. They're just doing the bare minimum. You understand? Checking off all the boxes and there's nothing extra. Like when you have that genuine enthusiasm, you can't shut up about it.
Hmm.
So you're literally just trying to like convey as much information in as little words as possible so that you don't just like, like dump on somebody, so to speak,
Hmm.
about what's your latest interest.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that, these communities are the best about, because they allow you to indulge in that, right? I can just literally nerd out about cameras and you have the same level of enthusiasm coming back.
Yeah.
And just to reference it, Creator Camp was just so dope,
Yeah.
because having everyone like come to me just asking me about my camera rig while I'm using it
Yeah.
is next level. I'm like, oh, you want
What
to
a
know about
dream.
this? Oh, let's talk about it. So exactly, like, this never happens at home,
Yeah.
right? I'm just talking to myself. So like the genuine enthusiasm is what I recognize is what makes the difference. If somebody wants to say like a growth hack or anything like that, the genuine enthusiasm in your voice, the genuine smile on your face, that like it's palpable and people could just see it from across the room,
Yeah.
that is what makes the difference. So I'm really trying to do that more than anything, which is tough because, like you mentioned, yeah, I should be making a Roadcaster video and I should be doing this and I should be doing that, but my like attention and my enthusiasm might not be
Right.
there at the moment. So, and it's tough because, like you also mentioned, you want things to have a purpose. So for me, I'm also creating for other creators, for
Hmm.
Ecamm and other things like that. So when I have purpose driven content, like my energy goes there as well. And then the only thing left for me is on the enthusiasm side,
Yeah.
because I don't want to mail it in.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny, like, we're right on the cusp of like it's right after the release of like all the new M4 Macs right now, like the iMac and the Mac Mini and all that stuff, which are so cool.
Mhm.
But like my original M1s are still going strong, so I'm fine. I haven't watched any reviews, so I'm not putting anybody on blast, but I did see a post online just this morning where somebody was like, "Gosh, like every M4 review is just somebody reading Apple specs and doing a Geekbench test. Nobody's actually like getting into what you can do or the comparisons." And it's like, I'm sure there are people, like I said, I haven't watched all the ones, but I know what the person was saying. It's like, I know that it's like there's a new Apple release, those videos go crazy. Like if you make an Apple video on release day or near it, like it goes nuts. And I know there are people who then find themselves like their whole channels almost become that, where it's like every time there's a new Apple release, I just get every phone, I get every iPad, I get every MacBook, and I can just make every video about every product and my channel blows up. And it will. But then you find people are like, okay, here's the M4, the Geekbench scores 28,000 something or others versus the M3, which was 26,000 something or others. And it's like, okay, whatever. It's kind of more square and it's a little smaller. The other one was bigger and less. And it's like, that's very different from like, I hate that I'm using myself as the example here, but I remember when I got the M1 Mac Mini, because it solved the problem for me. It wasn't to buy to make the video. It was like I needed a new computer that could be fast and quiet and multitask. And I remember the videos, I was like, I'm making a video because I don't think people understand how good this is. And the craziness of like, I have Final Cut and Zoom and Safari and Spotify. Like I have every app I can think of open at the same time, and the computer's still running just fine. And there's not even a fan noise coming out of it. That type of thing, that only comes when someone's really excited. Like when you get the people who buy their new M4 iMac and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I have a bright orange computer. Isn't this awesome? Like, look, and I can run all my programs and there's no fan. Like, those are the reviews where you're going to be like, wow, this person like sold me on the thing because their enthusiasm versus like, here's my 400th Apple computer review. Here's a Geekbench score that has no real life relevance. Like and subscribe. Like, and I feel like people accidentally fall into that without realizing they fall into that.
I'm sorry for laughing, but when you just said like and subscribe, it really put the emphasis on your point there. And I know exactly what you mean. Sometimes it's like, yeah, like, hey, you know what? That you made a video of the page on B&H. You understand, the
Mhm.
spec page,
Yeah.
because literally all you did was read everything. So like I was done with your video by the time I was done reading that
Yeah.
article. And that's where the difference is. And for me, like I try to make things well, better said, I like to try to make things where they're a bit more personal to me, so to speak, of like, this is how I'm using it, because you can get those tech specs from your favorite creator. Like everybody's making that video. For me, I'm trying to mostly tap into the enthusiasm side.
Yeah, it's almost there's a thing that's literally just popping into my brain right now, which is the term creator literacy, where as a creator, it's not just what you're doing, but doing it. And so, like, tech specs are a pretty good example, because I think of someone like Gerald Undone, right, who is like notorious in a good way for tech specs and going in depth on camera. I don't know, I guess he doesn't really do computers, but if he did, he will go into every spec on everything, but it's always contextualized in a bigger, like a bigger purpose. So, and in his case, a lot of it is like, here are the specs. What does that actually mean? Here's what it claims it can do. Can it actually do that? So it's like, it's almost like it's validating the specs in a way. But I think people see Gerald does really well. His videos do well. His channel grows. He has a lot of respect in the community, and he's very tech spec oriented. That means if I want to make a video, I need to include a lot of specs. So I'm going to go to the manufacturer, because that's the accurate place to get the specs. Here's the specs. I'm going to read them. And I understand why someone would do that. But it's like you said, like, I could just go I don't need to watch a YouTube video. I can just in 2 seconds go through that. I need something different. And the part where it's almost like you need that literacy, that media literacy, creator literacy, is to understand why you would need to do something. And like you were saying, this is how it applies to me. That might mean you don't even talk about everything. Like I love my Roadcasters, and I know there are features in them I have never touched and will never touch. And so when I make videos about it, I don't necessarily include those features, because it's just not relevant to me. You can go to Rode's website, Rode's YouTube channel, and find the feature breakdown. I'm sharing, this is how I use it and why I'm excited about it, even if I'm not using half the tools the thing actually has. But this is how it works for me, how it fits into my workflow. And I think understanding that purpose, it's almost like you can see the pieces. Like a good tech review needs to have the specs and some slick B-roll and whatever. And it's like, well, okay, why though? Like, why is that good? And why would you need those things? And do you really want B-roll? Like, if you're making a really good point where the viewer can see the genuine honesty in your face, do you want to cover that up with a B-roll clip? Like, no matter how smooth or slick it is, do you want to cut away from you making a good point to show, the product again spinning around in a circle? Like, there are purposes behind things and reasons for things, and if you just sort of take all the ingredients and smush them together, you're not going to get like the same cake that an expert baker would get by also putting those ingredients together, because they know why and how to include each ingredient, versus just like, it's all the same stuff, right? I put it in the oven, I mushed it all together. Why is mine giving everyone salmonella poisoning?
But yeah, you see, like I reference the same thing when it comes to editing, where like I would learn off of other people's content, sort of like a sous chef, right? So I'm learning on their ingredients, right, and pumping out content for them, sort of as that's their meal. But then it allows me to come home and apply those skills to mine and make my video a 5-course meal, so to speak, right? And have all the little things with appetizers, entrees, desserts, and even some wine if you wanted. So that's the way that I see it, and that's where that's the way that I try to make my videos. But
it shows too.
In that same note, I'm also trying to do something different, which is, instead of trying to show you the entire meal, right, I'm just going to show you how to make a sandwich. And, and that simple way of just like, hey, this is how you put out the bread. See you in the next video, right? And it's just basically just giving them exactly what they need. It's a new way of doing it, but I think it's going to try to help me create more content. Now, for someone like you, who has mastered content creation, where you not only have a video come out every single week, but sometimes even 2. You understand? What are some things that you do to help you kind of, I guess, mise en place, right? Like pre-prep your videos before you actually get them done, to actually try to be as consistent as someone like Mr. Tombuck?
I mean, I think you kind of touched on a lot of it. Some of it is just practice and repetition. Like, your first video is probably going to take a lot longer to figure out than your 200th video is. You're just going to develop a workflow and things. So it's just doing it. It's the same thing. Like, how do you learn to take photos? You get a camera and you take photos, and you take a lot of bad photos, and then you take some slightly better photos. So it's kind of, a lot of it is that. But then figuring out what works for you, like if you want to do really, if you're like, okay, I'm going to do super in-depth video essays or something they're heavily researched and there's all this B-roll, and I'm going to do 1 or 2 every month, but I have 2 full-time jobs and 3 kids. And it's like, well, okay, if you have 2 hours a week to dedicate to this, like, you're never going to be able to make that video. So what can you do that actually fits into your lifestyle and your actual, like, what you really have available? What are you have creative restraints, which sometimes can feel frustrating, but sometimes those are things that help you be your best, because if you just have unlimited access and freedom to everything, it's almost like harder to get stuff done. You need a limitation of some kind, and then it gives your brain something to latch on and go like, okay, what video can I make in a week? What video can I do 2 of this week? Or so I could schedule one in advance. Those kinds of things really help. And then for me, the thing that I'm struggling with right now is my videos have always just been as long as they need to be. Like, I'm not like, this needs to be this length. It's just like, the video's done when it's done. And over the past year or two, a lot of them have gotten a lot longer. Like, I remember if I had a 20-minute video, it used to be like, that's crazy. I freaked out once because I had a 35-minute video. And now it's like, I'll regularly have 30, 40, 45, 50-minute videos, which I don't mind. Those are a lot of work. Like, and and that's like, so like, at the time we're recording this, my most recent video is a how to start a podcast video. So it's like, and I wanted that to be really in depth. And that's like, I wanted to cover everything from like coming up with your idea all the way to uploading your RSS feed, like everything. So I was like, that's going to be a long video, and it's a 45, 47-minute long video. And it's like, that's going to be a beast to edit, a beast to write, to film, to put together. Like, those videos are long. And every once in a while, I'm like, I need that. But I have noticed, like, okay, when I'm doing a product review, for example, I forget what the last one I did was, that maybe it was the Roadcaster video, because it's like, I got that thing and I was like, I love it. I cannot, there's no way I could. It'd be like making a video that covers every part of Photoshop. Like, how do you even begin? You can't. And so it's like, okay, I think that's what I've actually been trying to do with the Roadcaster video, is like, instead of me covering this whole thing that then one firmware update could change everything, let's just focus on bits. Like, hey, how do you do scenes? How do you switch between different sources? Like, let's just break it down into like small little chunks. So instead of me having to edit a 45-minute video every week that's crazy in depth and I try to cover every point, we're just focusing on this one thing. It's very digestible. The shorter video is probably going to be easier to edit, because it's not going to take me nearly as long to edit an 8-minute video or something. And so that's something I've been trying to be aware of, especially with product videos, is not feeling the need to like one video for the whole product that is just, it becomes overwhelming, and I get kind of anxious because I'm just like, it's so much work, and what do I have to include? And if I leave something out, versus like, let me make an overview that contextualizes it. Then we can make smaller things about different features. That also means if there's updates in the future and stuff changes, my videos aren't just instantly out of date. Like, I can just make a video that updates this one thing. And that's like way more manageable, especially if you are trying to create like a library of videos that maybe they are scheduled in advance, which is something that's helped me a lot. And I've talked about that a lot over the years. Is like, I have usually at least 3 or 4 videos scheduled out. So it's not just like, I have to make a video for tomorrow, but it's like, sometimes I finish a video, I'm so excited about it, I just make it, that's going to be this week's video, and then videos get pushed back or whatever. But there's usually a couple there. And if you want to get to that point, making these epic Lord of the Rings length videos is not a great way to do it. Making digestible short things, make 3 5-minute videos versus 1 50-minute video. And that makes it a little easier to like build up your library that you can schedule ahead and have a little bit of breathing room and flexibility and stuff, which has been definitely like my biggest workflow game changer over the years.
Oh, that's cool. Well,
I don't
one
remember what
term that we
you said something and I blacked out and just talked for like 4 hours. So I don't know. Hopefully I got
trust
the
me, you
answer there.
answered the question. Yeah.
Okay.
But that also spawned another question, which is a term that we use and we give it a negative connotation all the time is cookie cutter. Right? Like, oh, I
Mm.
don't want a cookie cutter
Mm.
this and I don't want a cookie cutter that. Right? And I think that that's my biggest problem where every time I hit up a new project, because it's not cookie cutter, right? I'm trying to figure out how am I going to finish or end this video, and
Mm-hmm.
like what song choice or music, am I going to add to it? Does it really flow with what like the mood that I'm trying? And there's so
Mm-hmm.
many aspects of things that I put effort into that nobody cares about. Like really nobody
Yeah,
even
I think.
like ever mentions it, and you know it because you don't see it in the comments, right? You never hear the thing of like, hey, this little minute detail that I spent 15 minutes on editing just so that it flowed perfectly, just so that nobody could notice, right?
Yeah.
With that,
Yeah.
like, so the reason why I bring this up is because now I'm trying to implement a new strategy, which is actually using a cookie cutter, right? Which is,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you know what? Cookie cutters were made to make cookies easy, right? Instead of having to hand roll every single one and making it the same exact size
Yeah.
when you want to produce in bulk, you just roll out the dough and just start popping out cookies.
Yeah. I
In that
have
sense,
so
mhm.
many thoughts. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay,
All
no,
the
go
thoughts.
ahead because I think you
This
already know where I was going with the question.
Yeah, this is something that I've thought about this a lot, and especially I really kind of started consciously dialing in on this about 2 years ago. And so, first thoughts, as the creator, there are things that you just need to do to keep yourself having fun. Like sometimes you might want to spend hours on this one shot or this one setup that is in the video for 3 seconds and no one notices. But it's not about that. It's about you wanting to try
Hmm.
it out, to build your skill, to make the thing, and that's what makes it fun for you. And I think
For
that
you
stuff
to
is
tinker.
really, really important. Yeah, you want to experiment, you want to try something new. And I also think those little things that nobody notices, they don't notice when they're there, but cumulatively they add up to
Hmm.
something that if it isn't there, people would notice. Be like, it's like, when you do things really well, no one can tell, and when you mess up, everyone can
They
tell.
can
And it's
tell.
like,
Yep.
yeah, so they don't know it, but they don't know that they're even noticing it because it's done so well. All that to say, about 2 years ago, I got COVID for the first time, and so I couldn't do anything. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just stuck in bed for 10 days or whatever. Like, I'll be watching YouTube, and I could not watch my normal like camera, photo, video YouTubers because they just made me want to watch videos. And I was like, I feel like I'm missing out. I can't move. So I was like, I'm just going to watch videos from other niche. I'm going to watch entertainment, commentary videos and stuff. And it really dialed me in on like what I like as a viewer. And one thing I noticed was I found a lot of channels that had like the same outro music on every video. And there was kind of like a rhythm of like, I really like they do their same outro. They might say the same thing to wrap up the video, and then it cuts to this song. And it like, TV shows have the same credit music, right? A lot of the
Hmm.
times, and like, wow, okay, a lot of the stuff I consume, I like the consistency. I like going to this channel and knowing what the videos are going to feel like. I like watching a show and knowing what the episodes are. Like you don't want to watch like I don't need every episode of Bob's Burgers to be like a crazy intense drama all of a sudden. Like I'm watching that show because I want 22 minutes of fun, cleverness, laughs, probably a little bit of heart built in there too. And that's what I'm looking for when I go there. And I think we sometimes forget as creators that the things we make, it's our whole, we spend all our time on it, our main focus, so much energy on it. But the people who watch it, it's a small, small chunk of their day. And our channels are
Hmm.
small, small chunks of their lives. And when they come to us, they kind of want that same thing. They want what you want, you get a new, going back to music, you get an album from like your favorite band. You might not want them to switch genres every song. Like you probably like,
Hmm.
I want that, I want this vibe on this album. I don't necessarily like, what are you doing with like Gregorian chants and now it's jazz music and then death metal? Like, I don't know that I could listen. That's not what I'm looking for here. Like I want this consistency, the band might be like, wow, it feels like we're not pushing our genre or whatever enough. But for the listener, it's like, no, that's what I like from you. So all that to say, it actually made me feel a lot better about, if I'm doing a mic review, there's only so many ways you can like review and compare microphones. So it feels like, well, I'm making the same video with a different microphone, but it's like, yes, that's actually what people want. They want to see the mic review they saw last time, but now with this microphone instead of that microphone. That is actually what they want. And it's easier for me to give them that. And so I like, of course, because even though I was trying to not do anything a couple years ago when I was like sick in bed, I couldn't help but like literally start diagramming out like video structures. It was like, oh, this is how like I could start something. I was finding like this would be the song I would put at the end of every video. This is like how I can approach mic reviews. This is how I can approach a product thing or a tutorial or whatever. And like almost embracing the cookie cutter. Cause like you said, the whole point of that is you want it to be easy and consistent. And sometimes lower effort does not mean lower quality. Like that, we can feel like that as creators. Like if I'm not bleeding and crying at the end of this, did I really do a good job? But it's like, no, just because it didn't kill you or take all your energy doesn't mean it's bad or low quality. It means maybe you actually hit on something that works, and especially if people like it. And so anyway, that's a topic that I actually have been thinking a lot about over the past 2 years. And I think that it's really important as a creator to remember that you can create a structure and a cookie cutter for your setup, and that's not a bad thing. It's only bad if you want to leave and you feel like you can't. That's when there's a problem. But if you're trying to like, break the boundaries on your 50-second mic review, like at a certain point, it's just going to be distracting and weird because it's like, what do you even, like I'm on the roof under black lights, like doing this thing to try to make it look different than my other videos. And you're like, nobody needs that. Like nobody's asking for that. Like just sit down and talk about the microphone again,
I feel exactly the same way. Right now, we try to make every video like this one-off epic movie, right? Where you're trying to get the intro and outro. Yet, like you were just saying, like even old sitcoms, you had the theme song that people sing till today. You understand?
Yeah.
I can't meet a person who doesn't know the Flintstones song, right? Like
right.
So there's certain things that, we always go back to, and I can use you as an example that like I'm already used to your outros, right? And that little doo-doo-doo, the way that sound fades out at the end, like that is part of the video and part of the experience of watching a Tom Buck video. And I recognized that not 2 years ago, but like kind of within this last year, that I've started really realizing like not only yourself, but so many of the creators that I watch have the same exact sound or very similar intros, right? If at all.
Yep.
And
and you don't hate that as the viewer, probably.
No. And if the video doesn't have it now, right? It kind of is like it's missing. It's like almost an ingredient to like, hey, did you put vanilla into this cake mix? Because it almost feels like there's something missing there, and it's like that. And I recognize that from my own content because I was exploring on the creative side of like, how can I make this outro different and things like that. That there wasn't that consistency, and the consistency was in the quality of my work. But, just kind of having like the little wrappers, kind of like the beginning and the end, kind of the end cap to kind of say like, what's inside will be different. But, it's kind of like a sandwich, like the pieces of bread. The internals might change, but you're always going to have the pieces of bread to make it a sandwich, right? To classify it into that category, right? It could be tuna or it could be ham, but it's always a sandwich. So that's kind of what I've recognized myself. And I'm trying to work on finding my new like intro outro so that we could just have that cookie cutter and then everything else kind of fits in the middle.
People really like, it's funny, like in the creator world, the word consistency gets brought up a lot in terms of like workflow and things, but people really like consistency. Like You can say what you want about McDonald's, but the fact that if I go to the McDonald's down the street from me and I go to one down the street from you and we order the same item, it's going to be exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to question like
Yeah.
what's that going to taste like today? Like I'm going here for this reason and I want to get what I'm expecting from it. And that's how viewers, again, when your channel and your content is just a small part of their lives, that's the same thing. They want, I want to go to this channel because I want to feel this way, learn this thing, whatever, experience this the way that I want. And they're very happy to have consistency. When I was a teacher and I taught teenagers who I was like, oh, teenagers are all about like, crazy, whatever. No, 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 no. Teenagers want to come in, same thing every day, same whatever. And it's like, and I kind of realized that, like, oh, you have 7 other classes, you have sports, you have family, you have girlfriend, boyfriend drama, all this stuff. It's kind of nice for you when you can come into your 3rd period class and you know exactly where your seat is, exactly how the day's going to go, exactly what the project is, the expectation. Are like, people really like consistency, and don't be afraid to literally be consistent with how you make your content, because that's a lot of times, whether or not they realize it, what people are looking for.
It just hit me right now while you were saying that there's a thing called decision fatigue, where it's like you could only make certain amount of decisions per day. And I think that that's where, we need to get, as creators, like get out of that and like leave some decisions to be left out, right? And the cookie cutter mentality, and just have certain things, you understand, where it's just like kind of like that file format or the way that you would do it. And then just start pumping them out, because like the information, right? The content, your enthusiasm, what you want to talk about is the thing that's the most important, not so much, like did I make this outro the most epic outro, because nobody's going to talk about it. Like I've never heard somebody go, bro, you know what? The video was mid, but that outro was like Chez Magnifique. You know
that
what I'm saying?
Epidemic song was a banger.
like who made that track, right? Like all the stuff that we worry about, and yet it really just goes under the bridge, so to speak.
Yeah,
but now,
absolutely.
Been having you here for just about an hour, so thank you for hanging out. But I guess my last question to close things out for you would be, this is called CITYSGAW, channels that I think you should go and watch. And, like all your information is going to be in the bio. But now, who is Tom Buck's CITYSGAW? Who is the channel that you think we should all go and watch? Who is the channel that has your attention right now?
There are a lot, and I actually I need to find the name because it's spelled. Oh, here it is. Perfect. Yes. So it's a channel called Small World Workshop, and small is spelled SMOL. So Small World Workshop.
Okay.
They just passed. Actually, they're blowing up. They just did their 100,000 subscriber thank you video, and now they're at 108. So they are blowing up like crazy right now. But it's scale modeling from start to finish. But the production quality is great. So he's building like small scale models of things, but it's cool because he'll even like put them outside in like real sunlight settings and make it look like it looks like a Waffle House, but it's not. Like it's a model. But the detail is absurd. Like he did a Waffle House one where it wasn't just like, okay, really cool scale modeling, lots of 3D printing, lots of like cool ways to like add stuff in. But then he did the whole interior. Like here's every little menu and little tiny ketchup bottle and label on the ketchup bottle, and like interior lighting where the bulbs are different color temperatures, because at the Waffle House people are going to change bulbs one by one, they're not always going to match. Like the level of detail is just absurd, and he's so enjoyable to watch, put this stuff together. So that's going to be the one that I have been like, that's the channel I've been binging lately.
Yeah.
And it's also fun because it's somebody who started out of passion, enthusiasm, channel kind of blew up, and now they're kind of navigating the world of, being a creator and having a cool niche and stuff. So Small World Workshop, that's my channel.
I'll have you text that
Not
to
my
me.
channel, my recommendation.
Yeah, your recommendation. Yeah. But I'll have you text that to me so that we can link that up as well in the show notes. But sir, now where can we find you? The listeners, everyone here who might not be already aware of Mr. Tom Buck, where can they find you?
The easiest place, if you go to YouTube and type in Tom Buck, I'm right there. Or you can just go to himynameistom.com. That's my website, and everything is there. All the podcasts, all the YouTube, all the courses, all the everything, all the recommended setups, everything is there.
Awesome, bro. Well, thank you for making the time and hanging out here with us. And I guess that's it for this episode. All the information for Tom will be in the show notes in the description. So if you want to reach out or follow him, the links will be there. And that's where I will finish this off. And this has been, this is the 6th episode of CITYSGAW, channels that I think you should go and watch. And I think this is the one that I needed to close off to actually go live on it. So this is going to be the one that is going to start everything off, and we'll see where it goes from there. So I want to thank you, as always, for making the time to hang out here with me, my community, and I'll tell everyone I will see you in the next one. Talk to you.